You try to be kind. You avoid conflict. You say yes even when you mean no. You think that if you're respectful, agreeable, and helpful, people will return the favor. But they don't. You watch as louder, colder, and more ruthless personalities seem to rise. They command the room. They get the attention. They get the respect. And you, despite your decency, fade quietly into the background. The truth is bitter. The world does not reward goodness. It rewards strength, but not strength in the muscles, not strength in wealth. It rewards psychological strength, the kind that bends the social environment around you without raising a single voice. So ask yourself, why are some people feared and respected, while others, perhaps more ethical, more competent, are ignored, used, and discarded? The answer isn't obvious. Because you've been lied to. You were taught that if you're good, people will like you, that if you're honest, people will trust you, that if you're generous, people will respect you. But in reality, people respect boundaries. They obey strength. And they fear loss. The problem isn't your kindness. It's that your kindness comes from fear. Fear of being disliked, fear of confrontation, fear of being misunderstood, fear of losing relationships, opportunities, or validation. And here's the cruel paradox. The more you fear people, the less they respect you because fear radiates. In your body language, in your tone, in your choices. It tells the world, you can get away with this. And the world listens. But what if this fear isn't natural? What if it's been engineered? What if everything, school, religion, media, even modern corporate culture, was designed not to empower you, but to tame you? What if buried beneath centuries of etiquette and politeness, there were ancient, brutal truths about power that you were never meant to understand? Truths that were once known by emperors, warlords, and one man who saw through the lies with frightening clarity, Niccolo Machiavelli. A man exiled by his own people, humiliated, disgraced, and in that humiliation, he discovered something most people spend their lives avoiding. That power does not belong to the kind. It belongs to the cunning. And yet, he wasn't cruel. He was simply honest. He looked into the darkest corners of human behavior and wrote down what he saw, without flinching, and what he saw was terrifying, but also liberating. Because once you understand how power actually works, you begin to see that you've been playing by rules that no one else is following. And the moment you stop fearing others is the moment others start respecting you. This isn't about becoming a tyrant. It's about becoming someone who cannot be ignored, someone who doesn't beg for respect, but commands it, simply by understanding how the game is really played. And it's a game Machiavelli mastered. So if you've ever felt overlooked, if you've ever been dismissed, disrespected, or walked over, don't blame them. Blame the illusion, because fear has never protected you. It has only caged you. And now, it's time to break the cage. Let's begin. Imagine spending your life trying to serve your country, only to be betrayed, exiled, and forgotten. That was the fate of Niccolo Machiavelli, a man whose name has since become synonymous with manipulation and evil. But here's the twist no one talks about. Machiavelli wasn't evil. He was observant, painfully observant. In the early 1500s, Italy wasn't a unified country. It was a chaotic cluster of city-states, Florence, Milan, Venice, Rome, all at war with each other. Princes were overthrown overnight. Kings were assassinated in cold blood. Power changed hands not through kindness but cunning. Machiavelli worked as a diplomat for Florence during this time. He met with kings, popes, mercenaries. He saw how politics truly functioned, not in theory, but in blood. And then he lost everything. Political shift brought the Medici family back into power. Machiavelli was imprisoned, tortured, and exiled. Stripped of his titles and purpose, he was forced into rural solitude. But it was there, alone, disgraced and seething, that he began writing The Prince. not as a guide for tyrants, but as a mirror to human nature, one that revealed how leaders actually rise and survive in the real world, not the moral one we pretend exists. It is better to be feared than loved if one cannot be both. Machiavelli. The world recoiled at this. To suggest that fear could be more effective than love? Heresy, madness, immorality. But here's the question few dared to ask. Was he wrong? Look around today. Do people truly follow leaders because they're good or because they're strong? Machiavelli didn't invent manipulation. He exposed it. He didn't create tyranny. He described it. And what terrified people wasn't his cruelty. It was his honesty. He understood something we still avoid, that behind every smiling face, behind every polite gesture, lies the will to dominate. Even kindness, when weaponized, becomes a form of control. Men are ungrateful, fickle liars and deceivers, he wrote. They shun danger and are greedy for gain. It sounds cynical, but maybe that's because we've been raised on delusions, raised to believe the world is fair. That virtue wins. That honesty pays off. But Machiavelli saw the cracks in that illusion. He didn't ask, how should power work? He asked, how does it actually work? And the answer was clear. Power does not reward morality. It rewards effectiveness. If you're respected, it's not because people think you're a good person. It's because they believe you're useful, or dangerous, or too unpredictable to cross. These truths are unsettling. But Machiavelli believed that knowing them is the first step toward liberation. Because once you understand how people are manipulated, how respect is manufactured, and how power operates beneath the surface, you are no longer a pawn. You become a player. And unlike most philosophers of his time, Machiavelli didn't write for kings alone. He wrote for the discarded, for those who lived in fear, for those who had been betrayed, silenced, and ignored. He didn't just expose the rules. He taught you how to win by them. And that's where the real danger lies, because if the masses ever woke up, if people ever stopped believing in the illusion of politeness and started embracing Machiavellian clarity, the world wouldn't collapse into evil. It would collapse into truth. And truth, as history has shown, is the greatest threat to any system built on control. This is why Machiavelli was hated, not because he corrupted people, but because he told them the game was already corrupt and now it's your move. We all want to be loved. It's one of the most basic human desires. Love feels safe. It feels validating. It tells us we belong. But Machiavelli wasn't concerned with how things feel. He was concerned with how they work. So he asked a chilling question. Is it better for a leader to be loved or feared? His answer was blunt. It is much safer to be feared than loved if one must choose. To modern ears, it sounds heartless. But Machiavelli was describing a cold psychological truth. Because love is fickle, it fluctuates. It depends on how people feel. Fear, on the other hand, is reliable. When people love you, they may still betray you when the stakes get high. But when people fear you, they think twice. Fear creates boundaries. It prevents abuse. It protects. Now, let's be clear. Machiavelli wasn't advocating for cruelty for its own sake. He wasn't saying, be a monster. He was saying, don't. Rely on sentiment alone. People are not as noble as we like to believe. Men are more ready to offend one who desires to be loved than one who wishes to be feared. Think of the workplace, the teacher, the manager, the colleague. Who gets respected? The one who tries to please everyone? Or the one who commands presence? The friend who's always available, always agreeable, always forgiving, eventually becomes invisible. Why? Because over-accessibility kills value, and over-kindness signals weakness. Here's the paradox. If people love you too easily, they may unconsciously assume you need them. And when they sense that need, they gain power over you. But fear, real measured fear, does the opposite. It keeps others aware that you have boundaries, standards, consequences, that you are not someone who will tolerate disrespect. Psychologically, fear works because it activates the amygdala, the brain's fear center. This bypasses moral reasoning and goes straight into survival logic. And survival logic says, don't cross this person. This doesn't mean screaming, threatening, or dominating others. That's not fear. That's insecurity. Real fear, the Machiavellian kind, is quiet. It's the stillness in someone's eyes when they know they don't need you. It's the restraint of someone who doesn't flinch, doesn't beg, doesn't chase. It's the calm confidence of someone who can walk away and mean it. Ironically, this kind of strength often breeds genuine respect, and sometimes even love, because people don't truly love those who worship them. They love those who challenge them, who set boundaries, who won't be manipulated. So when Machiavelli wrote that fear is safer than love, he wasn't rejecting love altogether. He was revealing its fragility in the power dynamic. He understood that love can be beautiful, but fear is functional. And if you want to survive in a world where people lie, cheat, flatter, and betray, you must learn to command respect, not just affection. In a perfect world, we wouldn't need fear. But in this world, in this brutal, competitive, status-driven world, fear is armor, and without it, you walk through life naked. If you think power is only for kings, presidents, or CEOs, you've already lost the game, because the most powerful people don't always wear crowns. They wear masks, they sit in silence at meetings, they smile politely at dinner tables. They never raise their voice, but somehow everyone listens. They are what Machiavelli would call princes without a throne. And if you want to understand how to command respect in this world, without begging, pleasing, or threatening, you must learn the tricks of the prince. These are not superficial tactics. These are ancient psychological principles for gaining influence in a world that feeds on perception. Let's break them down. Machiavelli warned against being too honest. The prince must be a great pretender and dissembler, not because honesty is wrong, but because transparency is weakness in the wrong hands. When people know exactly what you think, want, or feel, they gain leverage. So a Machiavellian trick is strategic ambiguity. Let others wonder what you're thinking. Keep your true intentions veiled behind polite smiles and vague words. This isn't lying. It's protecting your inner world so that no one can weaponize it against you. It is necessary to be a great liar and hypocrite. Men judge more by the eye than by the hand. In other words, image is more powerful than substance. Machiavelli didn't say to be evil. He said to look good while making hard decisions. Modern society is obsessed with optics. If you want influence, you must learn how to appear kind, generous, and moral, even if underneath you're making cold, strategic moves, because people follow those who reflect their ideals, not those who expose their hypocrisy. So play the role they expect, while privately playing a deeper game. When the moment for action comes, hesitation is fatal. Machiavelli said it plainly. A prince must not hesitate in executing measures that are necessary. This means when you draw a boundary, enforce it. When you end a toxic relationship, don't look back. When you take a risk, commit fully. Half measures signal weakness, and the world devours the hesitant. But once the move is made, you don't linger. You don't explain. You retreat into silence and let others interpret your strength however they want. In The Prince, Machiavelli was obsessed with appearance. Why? Because reality is complex, but perception is fast, and people don't follow reality. They follow narratives. So you must learn to curate your reputation as if it were your most valuable asset. Let others believe you are in control, even when you're improvising. Let them see you as respected, even if you're still building your confidence. Because people treat you the way they perceive you, and that perception, once formed, becomes a weapon or a shield. People often misunderstand Machiavelli. They think he promoted cruelty. He didn't. He promoted controlled fear. The most powerful kind of fear doesn't come from yelling, threatening, or aggression. It comes from being emotionally unavailable, logically precise, and psychologically unreadable. It's the fear that if they disrespect you, you'll vanish, not explode, not collapse, just disappear. That silence, that emotional restraint, it terrifies manipulators because they can't control what they can't access. The promise given was a necessity of the past. The word broken is a necessity of the present. Machiavelli wasn't cruel. He was realistic. He knew that people are driven by self-interest, and that the easiest way to gain power is to offer what others already crave. Give them flattery. Give them hope. Give them a piece of what they want, and while they're reaching for it, lead them where you want them to go. This isn't manipulation for evil. It's understanding the psychological price tag attached to every person's loyalty. Everyone wants something. Find out what it is, then become the one who can offer it. That's how real power begins. These are the tricks of the prince. They don't require wealth, or status, or titles. They require clarity of mind, emotional control, and the courage to walk alone. Because when you begin to use them, people may call you cold, they may call you calculating, but secretly, they'll respect you. And more importantly, they'll fear underestimating you ever again. And in a world that feeds on dominance and deception, that might be the only way to truly win. You are not living in a world of honesty. You are living in a world of performance. A world where respect is no longer earned through virtue, but engineered through optics, narratives, and psychological control. Machiavelli never saw Instagram. He never used Twitter, but he would have understood them instantly, because modern society is not a meritocracy. It is a stage, a digital court, where the masses play roles, wear masks, and wage silent wars for status. And those who understand this new battlefield don't just survive, they rule from the shadows. In The Prince, Machiavelli wrote, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are." This single line explains the entire modern world. Your resume doesn't matter. Your knowledge doesn't matter. Your intentions don't matter. What matters is what people think you are. Online, you are not judged by depth, but by impression. You are not seen through interaction, but through a filtered lens. You could be strong, wise, noble, but if you appear weak, uncertain, or overly emotional, you'll be erased by louder voices. This is why image has become currency. Branding is the new armor, and influence is no longer about truth, it's about control of the narrative. Forget job titles, forget wealth, forget credentials. In the digital age, a 17-year-old with confidence and storytelling skills can have more cultural power than a CEO, because power has shifted. It no longer flows top-down. It flows from attention, and attention follows confidence, certainty, and polarization. This is why silence is powerful, why boundaries are magnetic, why detachment, once seen as aloof, is now interpreted as dominance. The new battlefield doesn't reward the most competent. It rewards the most strategically composed. And those who play this psychological game write the rules for everyone else. Modern life encourages you to be kind, agreeable, and accommodating. But in reality, the more you overexpose your kindness, the more people devalue you. Why? Because kindness without mystery is interpreted as neediness, as a signal that you have no edge, no pride, no alternatives. This is why those who remain emotionally detached online, who don't chase likes, who don't overshare, who aren't constantly validating others, seem to carry gravity, not because they're better, but because they're scarce. And scarcity in human psychology creates perceived value. One of the darkest truths of modern human behavior is this: people often respect you more when you give them less. Less availability, less access, less explanation. Why? Because what they don't understand they must imagine, and the mind, when left in uncertainty, projects power onto what it cannot predict. This is why detachment wins, why ignoring disrespect speaks louder than confronting it, why saying nothing often says everything. In Machiavellian terms, it is not necessary to be loved nor even to be understood. only to be feared just enough to be respected. In the modern battlefield, the best weapon isn't aggression. It's the psychological tension you create by not needing validation. So how do you gain respect in this world of illusions? You don't chase. You cultivate presence. You don't argue. You withdraw attention. You don't prove yourself. You become someone whose silence makes people anxious. This is the new Machiavellian strategy. Win not by overpowering others, but by letting them feel your strength and your restraint, by mastering the perception of value without ever demanding it. That's how respect is manufactured now. And those who refuse to play this game are endlessly disrespected by people who smile to their faces and laugh behind their backs. We were taught that power is evil, that fear is wrong, that being liked is everything. But Machiavelli and the world around you reveal a different story, a story in which those who understand human weakness don't exploit it with cruelty. They control it with precision, because in this world, if you don't manufacture respect, you'll spend your life begging for it. The ultimate Machiavellian trick is not found in manipulation or deceit or even domination. It's found in self-reliance, to walk alone, not because you hate people, but because you've seen what they do to the ones who need them. The final rule is brutal, but it's the only one that guarantees true power. Detach from dependence. Walk alone, and you will command everything. In every human group, there is an instinctive hierarchy. Those at the bottom seek inclusion. They avoid conflict. They apologize for existing. They are liked, but never respected. Those in the middle seek approval. They copy the strong, mimic the elite, but their fear of rejection limits their ascent. And then, there are the outliers, the ones who move independently, not rude, not angry, but calmly detached, like they see through the entire game. These are the ones who rise, not because they are loved, but because people sense they don't need to be. And there is nothing more powerful than that. If you require praise to feel worthy, if you need attention to feel alive, if you seek agreement to feel confident, you are owned, not legally, not publicly, but psychologically, and people sense this. The moment they realize you depend on them, they unconsciously place you beneath them. You don't even have to say anything. Your tone, your energy, your desperation does it for you. This is why walking alone is not just poetic, it's strategic. Because when people know you can walk away, they suddenly lean closer. They suddenly try harder. They respect you, not because you demand it, but because you no longer need it. Throughout history, those who led empires, movements, and revolutions were not the loudest, not the most agreeable. They were those who stood apart, those who carried their values with indifference to public approval. Marcus Aurelius ruled Rome, yet meditated on solitude. Machiavelli advised princes, yet died in exile. Nietzsche wrote volumes on power, while walking alone through the Alps. Their power wasn't in their popularity. It was in their psychological separation from the herd. And this is your final lesson. If you want to command the room, you must learn to be indifferent. To its validation, want to own a room? Don't overshare. Don't seek agreement. Don't over-explain. Instead, let your silence force others to interpret you. Let your absence create intrigue. Let your emotional restraint force others to wonder what you're thinking. Respect is not gained by how much of yourself you give. It's gained by how little of yourself you offer without reason. Be warm. Be kind. But be unguessable. That's the final Machiavellian edge. The one who reveals nothing controls everything. To walk alone does not mean you isolate yourself. It means you carry your mental independence like a sword. You can love others, but never need their approval to act. You can listen, but never let their opinion rewrite your instincts. You can lose, but never beg for forgiveness for playing your own game. Machiavelli said, "It is better to be feared than loved." If you cannot be both, but there is something greater than fear, something more stable than love. It is respect without explanation. and the only way to earn it is to walk like you already have it. So do not fear anyone, because once you master yourself, once you see through the games, the tricks, the masks, once you no longer need to be understood, liked, or accepted, you will carry a power that no title, no wealth, no crowd can match. You will walk alone, and everything else will follow.